you started to play with Charlie Puth, and then where does things go from there?
So I did that for about a year. Did a bunch of stuff, and then that band kind of ended. The music director I was under, they ended up changing music directors, and that's a whole nother thing. Like I always tell people, don't get too attached to these gigs,
Mm,
because it's not personal, you know what I mean? And it's like it had nothing to do with like my playing or my ability. It's just the new music director. They're gonna call their people.
hmm
That kind of happened, and then just kind of it was kind of a blessing because it opened me up to create my own music because right after that, I started working on my first album that I had put out. That was kind of birthed that at the time I just didn't like a lot of the music that was on the radio.
hmm
So I was like, man, I want to make music I want to listen to. And if other people like it, that's cool. Yeah, I put that first album out. It's called The Recital, and it did better than I thought it would do just for an indie record, especially overseas, like in Europe, really, really listened to it and in Asia too. But yeah, I just put it out, produced and played just about everything on it. Had a lot of friends come in, guest vocals. So it's not just me the whole time. And then, yeah, from there it started that my artist side
hmm
that just kind of did just because like why not? I don't want to be known just for the celebrities I play in front of. I
Yeah.
want to have songwriting and production that I could like offer up to the world, as well.
So it takes you into your own production and stuff. Were you producing beforehand, or is that kind of how you got into the production?
I was producing. That was my gateway into the music industry was
hmm
producing.
Okay.
But this was like producing for me now, you know what I
hmm
mean? Which was a
hmm
whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and did that and then after I put out that first record, a lot of artists reached out because they saw how I produced for me to open up me producing for even more artists. Um, and yeah. So right now I have this balance of writing my own music, whether it's for like an album or if it's for sync stuff, for
Mm.
TV and film as well. And then outside, I still like to play live. Like I still tour with certain artists. So I'm kind of like this weird merry-go-round of like things I'm doing in the industry.
So how does that work with like, you kind of have to drop everything when you go on tour. You have these production clients, these production projects and stuff. How do you go from having these kind of shutting them off to going on tour and then turning them back on? How does that process look like?
It's tough and it's something I've had to learn to do over time. Uh, Sometimes, and I didn't even do it this time, and I'll tell you why. But sometimes it's a matter of bringing a portable rig on the road with you so you can still get stuff done, at least enough of it done. So when you get home, you can kind of finish it off when you're back in the studio. But in this situation for Forrest, it was really unique where we weren't out the whole time.
Hmm.
So it was really nice. It was a month-long tour, but we like the first week we did 3, 4 shows, and then we had 3 days off back at home. And it did that for a couple of weeks where we kind of had Sunday through Wednesday off. So I was coming back home and I was able to, be with my family. I was able to work in the studio. I was able to do local gigs. So I was still getting work done. The longest we were really gone at one time was a week and a half.
Was that the intentional on their part, or was that just the way the tour was?
Yeah,
I
super intentional because I know Forrest doesn't really he does so more now, but initially he's not really big into touring like that. He'd rather just make music and be at home with his family. So I think it was scheduled that way so he could still have time. He has a little baby at home, so I didn't think he wanted to be away a month straight.
hmm
Uh, so it just kind of worked out for me also, with that kind of schedule, especially with all the things like you were saying I have back at home that it's hard to just shut it down because I do have other artists projects I have to finish that I am catching up with now that I'm home.